Thank you for being here. Brad, get us started. Tell us about Security Metrics. What do you do?
So we do data security for all types of companies, and we started really with PCI. So that's the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. All the big credit card companies came together, and they created a standard. And so we have about 300,000, a little over 300,000 currently enrolled customers on our portal. And we also do enterprise work. So Ralph Lauren, Costco, Nike, those are all our customers, and they do audits with us. So we do all kinds of different data security work for large companies all the way around the world.
And what got you into the security space?
What got me into the security space is I got hacked. It was in 1997, and I was minding my own business. I was kind of an IT guy. I had a company I started, and I was doing the web server, and I really liked the web server. It was really cool. It was great hardware. It had redundant hard drives and everything. And I came in one day, and they said, "Hey, it's not working." So I went and I looked, and it said the kernel was gone. So I went to my developers, because it was a development shop, and I said, "Hey, can you help me verify this?" And they verified, and there was no kernel. I said, "Well, I've never seen a kernel go in." They said, "Neither have I." And then we realized it had been deleted, and we realized we'd been hacked. And so when that happened, and e-commerce was just coming out, and then I went to my developers and said, "How did this happen?" And they said, "We have no idea." And I said, "This is weird, because always when I go to my developers, they always have the answer." But in this case, they just kind of shrugged their shoulders and said, "I have no idea." So I realized there was a real issue. There was going to be a demand in the future. So I thought, hey, I gotta check this out and start researching it. So I started to move that direction to go to Security Metrics, start it.
And you mentioned something to me on the phone earlier that was really interesting, that you made a conscious decision not to raise a lot of capital, and you've actually raised under $1 million in the last 22 years of business.
Yeah, so we'll do about $35 million this year. But yeah, we decided that we wanted to start up, and my wife and I just decided that we would try to start the business. So we took a second mortgage on our house, all that classic stuff. And we got to the point where we just didn't spend any money, right? Isn't that right? So we went for about 2.5 years, never earning any money, and we just kind of went along that way. And over time, we decided that we needed to get some angel investors. We had a big contract come in, so we had some angel investors come in, and then I got an SBA loan for $500,000. So we raised money that way, but where I was able to keep most of the equity in the company.
Yeah. What were the other advantages and disadvantages to doing it that way?
Well, I think Joel's presentation talked about many of the advantages, right? I own the majority of the company, and I think it really has helped the culture of the company. You have these big events big expenses that come up, and I'll give you an example. We had one of our employees had a child, and the child lived for several months, and the child died. And so that's terrible, and it's awful. And we wanted to talk to him and let him know we were so sad. But then we get the insurance upcharge, and it's $50,000 a month. And so because I own the company, I can just say, you know what, we're going to eat it. If I had a private equity group, they may say, no, you're not. You're not going to do that. You're going to charge your employees. And we're one of the few companies that don't charge our employees any portion of their medical. And we can do that because we're a private company, and I own the majority.
You also mentioned that over 22 years of business, you raised minimal funds. That's like a long time.
It is a long time.
Those are a lot of years.
Yeah.
So what did growth look like for you on that timeline?
Well, and I wish I had a slide I could show you because it was so pathetic at the very beginning. I think the first year was $17,000, and my wife was right here. She made a cake for us. We had this big celebration because we got a $5,000 deal, and it was so exciting. And then it went really slow because I had been hacked, and I knew that other people could be hacked, but they didn't really appreciate the fact that they might be hacked. So I kept saying, hey, you should do this. And they said, no, we don't really need to do that. So when the PCI Council came out with actual regulations, then our growth went from 2 million to 4 million to 8 million to 15 million. We just hockey sticked, right, which was great. So it was really fun. Those were encouraging days. Those are the days that my CFO would come in and say, we just made $500,000 last month. He'd get so excited. So that was really great. But we had privately funded everything, and so we had debts. We had money to pay back. But I think it really was a great way to do it.
So when did you feel like Security Metrics really took off? When did you feel like it was going in the right direction?
We got one of the biggest accounts on the planet. It was the biggest they have in the payment space. There's banks and they acquire merchants, so they're called acquirers. And Bank of America is both an issuer of cards and acquirer. And so we had the biggest account on the planet. They were an $11 billion company. They had given us 183,000 merchant IDs of prospects. We'd had lackluster success with that, but we were getting better, and so it was getting better. And then one day they called me and they said, we're going to give you 600,000 MIDs, and we're going to start charging a non-compliance fee every month to the merchants if they don't use your service. And we're going to do that in 4 days. And we're sending the announcement. We're going to tell everyone. So I'm just in this bad situation where you're thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? I got 4 days, and I knew it was going to light up my phone system. So I paid $10,000 in expediting fees to get more T1s brought in as fast as I could, right? Because they don't, the phone company doesn't do that in 4 days. So we got all of that done, and then it just boom, it hit, and we did really well. And so that was the $4 to $8 to $15 million. We just started to grow really fast as we could hire people. And those were the days in 2008 when it was hard to find a job, so we had lots of people. So I remember one day we realized we needed to hire 100 people in 4 weeks, and we were able to do that. So yeah, it was those were fun times. But yeah, we did have a time where we really took off, and it was really exciting.
I would say 100 people in 4 weeks. Those are a lot of hires. It's a lot of
that
interviews.
is a lot of hires. Yeah.
So what were some of the strategies that you used with your team to recruit people who were a good fit for the culture that you had built?
Well, everyone knows everyone, and so we had a lot of people in my neighborhood, in my stake, in my ward. Everyone knew me. And knew others, and so that was great. So we got a lot of that. But when we had this hit where I knew I was going to have to over double my sales force in 4 weeks, that was hard. So we just went basically to a temp agency and said, could you help us? And they did that. We still have a couple of those employees, from 2008 that still work for us, which is great.
That's fantastic. I mean, that retention speaks a lot to the culture, I would say. So that's really great. Earlier, you mentioned that some of your clients are, say, Nike and Costco and these huge companies. Is that typical for your clientele, or what kind of companies do you work well with Security Metrics?
So we have 2 lines of business. We have what we call the enterprise services, which is forensics and audits and pen tests. And that's the enterprise services. And those are the big companies. And then we have the 300,000. But a lot of the 300,000, like Taco Bell, we have Taco Bells. So any franchisor can use our services. So we'll have people on both the SMB portal as well as on the enterprise side that are big companies. And we also have people all the way around the world. And I remember when all these things happened with Ukraine and Russia, I said, well, somebody check and see if we have any Russian customers. And we did, right? And I had no idea that we did. So it's interesting when you have a business that's online that you have all these customers, you don't even know who many of them are.
Right, from all over the world. Talk to us a little bit more about bootstrapping. Can you give us some specific strategies that you were able to use to be a successful bootstrapper?
I think what you've got to focus on is time to revenue, because it's all about, you don't have the bad news is you don't have a base. You don't have somebody behind you that if you didn't make payroll, they're going to bail you out. And so you worry about that. And so, what it was all about for us is time to revenue. How fast can I get the revenue? And even today, we just had our board meeting, our executive retreat last week, and my slides were all about time to revenue. What's my time to revenue in enterprise? What's my time to revenue on my channel side? And so I think that's the focus you have to have, is how quickly can I onboard? We actually had Scott Peterson come and do a presentation at our work about a year ago. We made a change in our sales VP. And so Scott came in and kind of gave training to everyone. And he mentioned that. He said, onboarding is a big deal. And I thought, why is that a big deal, right? And we do pretty good, I think, on onboarding. But so I hired the group he told me I should hire to do that. And a year later in my board meeting, it was so awesome because I said, our time to revenue on that group is 39 months to 100% revenue, 39 months. But we already have bought this product because Scott told me to. And it's already helping. We've already seen an increase, so we're getting better. So you've really got to focus on that time to revenue, number because you want to get that money in as fast as you can so that you're not in a bad way.
What challenges have you uniquely had to face because you're building and running a company in the security industry?
Well, I think everyone kind of wants to hack us just to prove they can. So, we get people who say, well, I could get in and I could do this. And we said, yeah, but that's part of our system design. It's not actually a weakness. And so that's interesting. So we have that a lot. The biggest thing for us is going to be employees that mean well, but really don't understand they're giving data out or they're clicking on the wrong link. So we actually have our IT staff send pretend emails to see who will click, and then we have a discussion with them. And one day I went by our office manager, and she's saying, Brad Caldwell, CEO, Blake Stevens, CFO. And I said, wait a second. So who are you talking to? So somebody just called, and they're asking questions about the business. And I said, well, you probably shouldn't tell them everything they ask. And so we had a training session. So, you get people who are actually trying to come in and hack us and are social engineering us and that kind of thing. So we're always on guard for that because it would really hurt our reputation if we had a big hack.
Sure. And what was one of the biggest obstacles that you've had to overcome as the business owner?
Well, the big company that was the gift from heaven initially that really helped us hockey stick grow, they woke up one day and did a presentation, and we were at the presentation, and they said, PCI revenue is our third largest revenue stream. And we said, wow, that's weird. They're an $11 billion company. And then all of a sudden, they came to us and they decided they wanted to cancel the contract because they realized their third biggest revenue stream was outsourced to us. So they wanted to bring it in-house. And so they did that, but our customer service was way better than theirs, and so people weren't leaving. And so they said, well, let's sue those guys. And so they did. They started a big lawsuit and tried to say that our data, the data that we had got from their customers was not ours, it was theirs, and our contract clearly said the opposite. So it was 2.5 years, millions of dollars of money spent on nothing, and at the very end, they lost, and we got to retain everything. But emotionally, that was hard, right? Because, I don't know how you guys are, but you probably don't get sued a lot. I've never been sued, and so it was really hard, emotionally to kind of go through that. Have somebody for 2.5 years tell you that you did things wrong, although you didn't. And so that was really difficult. And I think the biggest thing for me that was the awakening after is I came out of that experience. I started looking at our products about a month later and said, our products are really awful. We really ought to fix these. And I'd been distracted. I realized I'd really been distracted through that legal proceedings had really taken a toll on the company. So, you get those hard things, but it also makes you stronger, right, to go through that. And now it's not such a big deal, and I don't live in fear of somebody coming and suing us anymore, like I did.
Talk to me a little bit about partnerships. What advice do you have for entrepreneurs who are involved in partnerships, starting partnerships, and how to make them work?
I got to tone this one down a little bit. So I have watched a lot of people start businesses with partnerships, and at the beginning, it's awesome because you have someone to share all the risk, you have someone to talk to, you have someone that has maybe some financial means that can split that with you. And so at the beginning, it always sounds like a really great idea. But, I'm old enough that I've watched my friends who have done that all kind of have to get through that. And what inevitably happens is that somebody gets a distraction, somebody doesn't work as hard as the other person, and so then they have to part ways, and then it's really bad because how you normally do a partnership if you're in our area is we want to be charitable, nice, kind, and loving to everyone, so it's a 50-50 deal. But then when I try to get out of that deal, it's very difficult, and maybe not as fair as it should be. So I think you just have to be cautious. I love RevRoad because of what they have here. Allows you to kind of do it on your own maybe a little bit and control your destiny without having, because they're gonna come on the equity side and help you. So I think there's some real advantages to the model they have here at RevRoad. I think it's a great idea, and that will help you to do it. But you got to do what makes sense for you, but just be aware that can be a problem long term.
Something that RevRoad works on with entrepreneurs, I'm sure, is elevator pitches and delivering the message of your business in a short and concise period of time. Do you have any tips or funny stories about when you were an early entrepreneur and beginning to pitch security metrics?
So I actually have in my pocket our little, on a ring, our elevator pitch and our messaging for our customers in my pocket right there. And our marketing team did that, and I have that, and I can bring that out whenever I need it, which is awesome. But I think probably the story that we always, it's kind of the lore of security metrics when we talk about the early days. And there was only about 10 of us. And we had a really small group of developers. There was a couple sales guys and myself. And we had done a lot of partner design. We had customers that were using our product, and it worked well. And we'd actually come up with some revolutionary, systems based on what customers had asked us to do. And we started to work with the big card brands. We thought we were at the point we could go pitch the big card brands. So I went to a big card brand and was pitching them, and they just got totally engrossed in this product, and it was great. It was doing all these things. It was doing things they didn't think it could do, and they were so excited. And then all of a sudden, towards the end of the meeting, one of them goes, "Wait a minute, how many people are in your company?" And JB and I kind of seized up, and we're like, "Oh, geesh," And then the guy beside us, the business development guy, said, "Less than 100. They went, "Oh, okay." And then we just moved right on. And I thought, oh, my gosh. I could never have said less than 100, right? I would have said 10, And he goes, "Less than 100." And, we end up getting the deal, right? So it was great. So, you get in those situations where you don't really realize what's happening, and there's that dynamic. But it was really, really fun. And it's fun to have these people with you that do a good job and to have good products that you can sell to people.
I can tell that you're really passionate about the people that you work with and creating a culture and a team that is supportive and accepting of people. And talk to me about how the values and principles of your life have guided your business decisions and what those principles are.
Yeah, so you're a member of the church, and so you want to do the right things, and it's hard to always do the right things, and you're trying to make an environment for everyone to have a good environment. And, I remember one of the issues we had is people started coming into work, and they were concealed weapon carrying, and they were showing their guns to each other. Well, there's like 5 of them doing it, but there's a whole floor of people, and everyone else is like, what the heck, right? So all of a sudden you find yourself making rules because you want people to feel safe at work, and you want to look after all of your employees. So it really is difficult because you've got so many people that you're trying to look after all their needs and make sure that they all feel safe and respected and they're doing a good job. And that's really hard. The biggest thing I've learned is don't jump to a conclusion. Hear both sides of the story, and you'll probably get to the reality real fast. And we really do have a good culture. I asked, we try to give a quote after you've worked at Security Metrics for 10 years. And so I thought, COVID happened, and we used to do that every month at employee lunches. So I said, "Hey, can you get me the list, and we'll go see who didn't get it during COVID." And they gave me a list. It was 72 people. I've been there for over 10 years. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. We've got 250 people and 72. And a lot of them have been, 14, 15, 20 years working at security. So it's really fun. They become your friends, right, after you've known them for decades, right? They're as good of friends as anyone else in your life. So it's fun to have those people that I get to associate with every day.
It was interesting. I was standing in the back, and someone came up to me and had wonderful things to say about you as a mentor and as a boss. So how has mentorship played a role in your life? What mentors shaped you as a businessman? Well,
when I started my business, I didn't have a cool place like RevRoad, and so I was stuck. I got to a point where I was just stuck. And I went to talk to a friend of mine, the smartest guy I knew, and he was working in another company. I said, "What do I do? I'm not making any money, and this is awful." And he said, "Go to UVU, to their business entrepreneurship group, and then also go to BYU." So I did that, and both groups really helped. Shauna Theobald went and got a guy that had run another business, and he completely changed the way I thought about it. I thought it was all about building the best mousetrap. And he just completely talked me out of that, and got my head straight. And then I went to BYU, and I met Jerry Nelson. He was talking to somebody about a duct tape wallet before me. I had to wait for 20 minutes while he did the duct tape wallet pitch. And then he said, "You got a real shingle? You got a real place?" And he's still on our board, 20 years later. Jerry Nelson's still on our board. So I'm really into that. It really bugged me when I was starting a business and everyone wanted a piece of the action, because I didn't have any action to give you. I was worth nothing. And so it really frustrated me. So I'm a big believer in, hey, a mentor should come in. They should just offer help, get you help you get to where you need to go, and then good for you if you make it, and that's great, right? So mentorship is a big deal. I'm really a big fan of mentorship.
Yeah. Can I ask you to expand on the shift in your mindset from the mousetrap to?
Okay, now you're going to get me. That's 20 years ago, but I can get there. So I was a little bit nerdy. I was a little bit technical. And so I thought if I could build a better system that everyone would just flock to it. And so I had a guy come in. I don't remember his name. I should at least remember his name. But he came in and he said, look, if you think about Novell and Microsoft, who has a better technology? And I don't know if you guys all know that or not, but it was very clear to me that the best technology was Novell. It was much faster, but it was much harder to install. It was much harder in many ways. And he said, Microsoft is sales-driven. And it's about, I'm going to say time to revenue. To me, as a guy that needs to get the revenue, it's about sales. It's about getting the sales side. That doesn't mean I need to blow off my engineering group. And my engineering group, is my, the place I like to go hang out, right? But you've really got to be understanding that it's about getting every piece of the business going together. If you only have a great product, you read the book Inspired, and it's all about product management, but it's not just about product management, it's about all these facets. Sales has got to be in great shape. Marketing's got to be doing a good job. And you've got to have all these groups doing a good job. And when you get all those people together, that's when it really is awesome.
How did you end up in Utah? Because you're originally from Canada, correct?
Yes.
And you landed in Utah, and you stayed in Utah. Tell us why.
Well, first of all, is anyone here from Canada? Oh, okay, so you know. What's the weather like in Canada? Yeah, not as warm as this, let's just say that. It's really cold. So I came down to BYU, and I met my wife, Becky, here, and we got married, and so she has a great family, and they were down in this area, and my family all start to migrate down into the U.S., so we just stayed here. In fact, we bought one house. We've been in the same house for 30 years, and it's been great. So, I can thank BYU for that we got to meet at BYU and at work. So it was fun. And
was your original plan to start your own business, or did you go to school for something different?
No, it wasn't. I really like computers, and I could actually get a grant. I could get a lot of my student loans forgiven if I took certain majors. So the major that I did was advertising, because if I did advertising, I got a third of my student loans remitted. So I went to that group and said, can I make this a little more technical? So they let me change the computer classes. So I took Pascal 142, which was the entry-level computer class, and some of those things. So I was able to change my major a little bit so I could get a little bit more technical side, but I really didn't have a CS degree or anything like that.
Okay, so truly Security Metrics came because you saw a gap in the industry and decided to fill it.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful, yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So what kind of opportunities do you see for entrepreneurs now? What advice do you have for them?
Well, I think it's the same thing as it was for me, 20, 30 years ago. I saw a need, I created, I worked hard at getting a product that worked, and then we just went into the industry and tried to get it successful. I think the thing that's hard about this is that the difference is the commitment, right? I mean, if you think about your heroes, are they the people who are like, I'm not sure if we win the football game, that'll be great, right? That's not what they say. They say, we're going to win the football game. And I think that's the thing that you have to get to in your business, is you have to get to this commitment phase. And whether it's the church, you've got to commit in the church to get the rewards, and I think you have to do the same thing in business. You just have to say, I'm committed. And Becky and I together, it wouldn't have worked without her commitment too. We were committed, and we just went through the hard times, and we just made it work. So I think what's my advice is you got to commit. You got to really say, I'm going to do it, and then you got to do it. You can't just say you're going to do it. You actually have to get it done. And there's enough help, and there's enough of a community here that you definitely can get it done.
I don't know you very well, but I really respect and the partnership that you two clearly have. I think that's a really wonderful thing. So talk to us a little bit more about you as a person, and then we'll open it up for audience questions. What are you passionate about outside of business and work?
So what we like to do together is we like to travel. And when I was, and we have a bunch of our customers in the UK. So I got an opportunity to go to the UK. So I would take my kids to the UK too if I could, which was fun. They enjoyed that. So we like to travel. But this last year, we have a boat, and I've been trying to wake surf for a long time. and I couldn't wake surf. I mean, I couldn't let go. I could hold on the rope, but I couldn't really let go. So I got a mentor. I got somebody who taught me how to do it. And just pitching the mentors. And she showed me in like about 2 minutes how to do it. And it just really chaps me that it took me 10 years of doing it the wrong way before I asked somebody who was good, and she told me how to do it. And now this summer I was really excited about wake surfing behind the boat, and I can go 15 minutes behind the boat. So that was really fun. I like to ski. I mean, I like to do lots of those things. But that's the thing that we've we've done a lot of traveling this year because of COVID. We couldn't travel much, but we like to do that together. And I have work shows that we go to internationally, so I always take Becky in, and it's a lot of fun.
I think that's a perfect intro into our audience questions portion of asking someone who's already good at it and already running a successful business, and asking them how to do it. So if you have a question, please raise your hand. We will run a microphone to you, and we'll go from there.
Yes.
First of all, thank you. I commend your growth, your vision. It's fantastic. I actually used you about 10 or 12 years ago when I was with a franchise corporation, and we needed some PCI compliance. So
was it good? Did you like it?
It was fantastic.
Okay, awesome.
It got us
Thank you for
exactly
saying
what
that.
we needed. We had gotten hacked. That's why I will not share who I was with. We had gotten hacked and needed some PCI compliance and had to scramble to get that. Looked to a few companies, discovered you guys, and it was a phenomenal experience. Thank you. My question is regarding your growth expectations. It seems like everything has been organic growth. You've been bootstrapped. That's incredible. I'm an outsourced CFO, so I can definitely understand the difficulties and yet the congratulatory experience of doing that. So my question regarding growth, is it going to continue to be organic, or are you looking at maybe acquiring some other companies? Or talk to us about that for a second.
Well, it's interesting because in our space there was 4 big competitors, and 3 of them all consolidated. So now they've tried to do it, and we are just reaping the rewards of that. They are just having all kinds of problems. We just get people calling us, asking us for business all the time now because they've done such a bad job. They've had to migrate everyone off of their system they were on to a new system, or a third of the people. So for us, I've really enjoyed, like, you think, well, you kind of want to start a company and you want to sell in 5 years, you want to do another one, right? That's what you want to do. But I've really enjoyed going through this because we've gone through this long haul scenario, and we had to kind of reinvent ourselves and really look at, we got this growth. It was kind of a gift from heaven. We got all this growth, but now it's like I got a brute force past 30 million. That's kind of a ceiling. And so it's really been fun for me to start to look at the metrics and start to understand it and start to get to the place where I can project growth now. So we hired an ADR group. I know my opportunities used to be 40 last month they were 130. Qualified opportunities. I know what my growth should be. I can see what my conversion rate. I mean, I'm really enjoying this part of the business because I can really start to crystallize it, and I can start to project now exactly what my growth's going to be. My time to revenue on my channel is 39 months, and I know what the percentages are. I mean, that's fun stuff for me. So I'm really geeking out on, I can start to project now with certainty rather than just say, I don't know really how it works. Now I really know how it works. And I think that's where it gets fun. So for us, my revenue target, we made a change in our salesperson a year ago. And during that last year, we've grown 24% in enterprise. Our contracts on channel have been triple. So we're seeing, but it's just interesting for me to see the growth. And I think you've got to get deep into it to really be able to project and feel confident with the growth instead of just feeling like it just happens, right? Without you knowing how it happens. But that's really fun. And that's really the thing you got to get onto with your time to revenue, is getting into the metrics and figuring out what's causing the revenue to come in or not.
Hey, want to say thanks, first of all, for being my mentor. You've helped me a lot with just kind of understanding you don't have to give up your whole company to grow a business. You can actually do it and still maintain a majority stake. I didn't even have that belief before I talked to you. So thank you for that. My real question is that first contract or that first investment, how did you navigate those two things?
So the nice thing about this kind of a portal where I can get money in advance is I could self-fund. So the month that we did the most growth, where I had to hire 100 people, I was the most profitable. and that was cash, right? So that's weird. That's not a normal business. I don't have any inventory. It's just coming in on the portal. So we really self-funded. And in fact, what's funny is I was driving up, I still remember driving up the road to, from Provo to Orem on State Street, and American Express called me and said, your credit card's $250,000 this month. You know, and they're trying to politely say, will you pay it right now? Because we're really worried, right? Because my payment up to that point, you know, my bills were $30,000 or something. And so it's interesting. You really have to be watching that because you can stop yourself if you don't have that funding. But you also need to get a good relationship with your banker. And when I need an SBA loan, I went to my banker. And I had been with my banker for 10 years. And he's the one who has to kind of put his neck out and say, I'm going to do an SBA loan for you. And so he did it. And he did all of the work and got that SBA loan. I needed the $500,000, and he was able to get it for me. But so you got to be looking after those things. And I have to tell you one quick aside. So I did that. I got my SBA loan. I was very excited to get my SBA loan. I got $500,000. I was all excited. And then I realized at the end of that day that I had neglected to tell my wife that I had just put everything we owned free and clear as collateral on a loan. And I'm like, oversight. So now what am I going to do? So we're at the video store. She probably doesn't remember this. We're at the video store, and I'm thinking, well, how do I bring this up? Because I know I'm going to do this wrong. So how am I going to bring this up? So finally I just thought, okay, honestly, I'm just going to go for the honest approach. I'm not going to push hard, just going to try it. And I said, just FYI, everything we own, I just signed away on a loan as collateral. Sorry, I forgot to tell you. And she goes, I trust you. We'll be okay. That's awesome. That's awesome. Hey, I really remember that because I thought I was in deep trouble. So that was really fun. So you gotta have your spouse committing, or it's not going to work. Let me just say that.
Thank you for the presentation so far. My name is Kyle, and my partner here, Nate. We run a plastic manufacturing business, Lakeshore Plastics, down the street. And your perspective on customer experience has been one I want to ask you a little bit more about, because in our industry, a lot of what you're getting are these people that have been there for 50 years, right? They're kind of just doing it the old-time way because that's the way it's been done. So we're looking to make an impact on the customer experience side as a way to set us apart from the competition, for one thing, right? So from your perspective, if you could boil down a few of the key components of your advantages from the customer experience perspective that you care most about and that you've seen make the most impact, what would those be?
Well, for us, it's interesting because the acquirer will tell the merchant, let's say they have 10,000 merchants, and they'll say, you have to use security metrics to be PCI compliant. They don't really have to use us, but they need to use somebody like us. So most of the people will come to us. And so what we need to do is have a system that worked well, that caused as little frustration. Because if it caused a lot of frustration, and it's happened to us many times, if we do a bad job, the acquirer will come in and say, hold the program, will you? Don't send any more emails, stop all conversions, stop all new revenue. And that drives us crazy. So, you know, what I did is I put myself on the feedback. Every time a feedback hit the company, I knew about it as fast as anyone else did, and I was asking the questions. Why? What's going on? And there was a time just after I got over this lawsuit where I was getting 5 or 6 complaints about our website a day. Now I get 3 or 4 compliments about our support people, right? Which is totally different. I also had this weird experience where I came from WordPerfect. I'd worked at WordPerfect. So to me, I felt like customer support was important because I'd seen the power of that to real customers. And so we go crazy on our call support. And so our ASA, our average time to answer is 9 seconds, right? And our goal is never does it get above 15%. I'm sorry, 15 seconds, excuse me. So we really go after that heavily, and that pays huge dividends. People will come to us and just say, you do such a good job. And when we had the big customer leave us, the reason they didn't leave, the reason their merchants didn't leave is because they were used to our incredible support. They would call our support group and say, can you tell me about my bill, my credit card bill? And we'd say, well, no, we don't have any information. But they'd have to wait an hour on the phone to their system, but they would wait 5 to 10 seconds on our system. So, you know, I just had to reinstall Creative Cloud on our home computer yesterday. and it's Adobe. I mean, they're a big, huge company, and that customer support experience was just awful, right? And all you have to do is just try it. Just go do it yourself. And we just got our biggest customer. Excuse me. We just had our biggest customer last week. They gave us the data. So we have 1.6 million new mids. Okay, that's big. That's as big as it gets. And sorry, I'm grateful. But the thing about it is, everybody in the company started to go the wrong direction. It was just amazing to me. They all started to do things they thought were going to be good for the user experience. And it was fascinating. You had to get everyone in the room right away. And just before I came here today, I have a standing meeting every day. Show me the customer experience. Everybody's in the room. Nobody can make a mistake and say it was that other group. Everyone's in the room. Show me that customer experience. Before I came here today, I made sure that the customer experience of all of their merchants coming in was perfect. And it's not to say the graphics are perfect and all those things, right? But it was, it's good. So it's the detail that's really important as you get into these businesses. You got to be detailed on the marketing side, on the sales side, on the product side. You've really got to be detailed on all sides. And if you do that, it makes a massive difference. Sorry, didn't mean to get emotional. Really great account. We worked on it for 6 years, so I get a little bit overly grateful. Sorry.
Well, round of applause for that one.
Hi, Brad. My name is Grace Weston. Thank you for sharing your story. I just have a quick question. My sister and I run Camille started it, my sister, a digital marketing agency called Nona Rose Agency. And I was just wondering, back to the beginning of your company, when obviously your reputation is fragile, right? How did you build a positive reputation with your first couple clients? And how did you build that trust when you didn't have a lot of proof of what you'd done before?
Yeah, and that's a great question. So we're in this hacking space, and hacking, 20 years ago was really new. Nobody knew anything about it. And so what we would do is go to trade shows, events, and we would do hacking demonstrations. So at the very beginning, when I had my suitcase, literally I would go in with a server, and I would sit down and I would show everyone how to hack it and how to own it, right? And that's what we would do. And as time went on, people went, oh, those security metrics guys, they actually know how to do this hacking stuff. This is cool. And they'd ask us questions. And so we had this level of expertise that was shown before we'd ever started any of their customer experience. The other thing that we did, in that same vein is we'd always do pilots. So we'd go into a big customer, $11 billion, customer, and we'd say, do a pilot with us. We'll do it for free. Cost you no money. Just do the pilot, and then you tell us if you like it, and if you like it, do it. If not, we're done. And so it was a no-risk guarantee, basically, and that really helped us. In fact, all the big accounts that we got, we really were able to get with a no-risk guarantee. Let's just do a pilot. And the pilots really, so that really is how we kind of moved that past those problems.
Thank you so much, Brad. My name is Tyler Stevens, and I am terrified of hiring. In our company, we're getting ready to hire, the third and fourth key players. And so for you who've hired a lot of people over the years, I guess what I'm trying to say is I've seen a lot of people come in, or new hires that I think would be great and kind of fizzle out, but also hires I thought would be terrible and have been awesome. And so I just want to know your point of view on that.
Well, it is interesting, isn't it? Because there's a whole bunch that goes on in that whole dynamic, and I think once you hire the people, it's how you look after them and how things work for them. So the thing that's really worked for us is we do one-on-ones every week. So every employee, I sit down as a manager, and I say, what are your goals? What can we do? You get training every year. What training would you like to do? And so they know that I'm there to coach them, to help them in their career, not just to help security metrics. We're both in it together, right? And I think if I'm meeting every week, if there's frustrations that come up, then I'm going to know about them right away, and we're going to be able to fix them. And we had one yesterday. I had a manager come out and he said, we almost hit our goal. We did 1.1 million on this one group, and we didn't quite hit our goal. We're 16,000 short. And so we talked about it as a manager, and he realized that he had not allowed somebody to pull the 16,000 from the next month, which they could have easily, and they could have hit the reward, and that really frustrated them. So it's about, once you hire, you just really have to spend time with those employees. Every week you need to be talking to them, doing a one-on-one. That's their time, that nobody else is listening, and they can just talk. You get to be really good friends, and you find out what their career goals are, and you help them through those career goals. And that's when magic happens. That's when you're part of a real team, you know. And so you just really, it's not just, but I understand what you're saying about hiring. I mean, I hated that too. I'm like, I have no money in the bank, and I want you to come and work with me. And maybe I'll be able to pay you. I mean, that's how it feels, right? You feel like you're dishonest by inviting somebody at the beginning. You come and work with me, maybe I can pay you. It just feels bad. But over time, that starts to go away, and then really it's about getting in and talking one-on-one with all those employees. They should all have a one-on-one every week so they can tell you what's wrong and what needs to be fixed.
One second, I'm just going to ask a quick question. I'm a fan of hypotheticals, and so if you had a time machine and you could go back in time and change one decision or change one strategy that would turn your, I think you said $35 million a year company to $100 million a year company today. You got one use of the time machine, one change to some previous decision. What would it be?
Well, so we all have kind of our own personalities, and our personalities are we kind of love to latch onto some things and don't really like to do other things, right? If we're homeowners, right, we know that we don't like to sweep up, we don't like to do the vacuuming. So I always pushed off sales to other people. I always did that. And because I don't consider myself to be a salesman, you know, I get emotional in the middle of presentations and stuff, right? So I'm not a good salesman. So what I really wanted, I always pushed that off. And since we made a change, all I did is leave the existing managers, and they report directly to me, and they are kicking it, right? So I wish I got more involved in all aspects of the business. And I really should have been looking after the sales group and making sure everything was okay. I should have been doing one-on-ones with them, right? I should have been making sure I had low attrition there. I should have been finding out what their problems were. I should have fixed them, right? And I didn't do that. I left it to somebody else who I thought would do a good job, who really didn't. So that's probably the decision I would make.
Thanks, Brad. Actually, I can kind of relate to that too, because sometimes I get kind of emotional when talking about something that's really near and dear to you. But I'm cool right now. Don't worry. Anyhow, I was thinking about like where you talked about not having money in the bank. How do you hire that employee? And that really makes me think about, you actively chose not to take on, that type of funding at that stage in your business. And then you had the question there about, things that you could have changed. Where I'm going here is, if you were to have taken on more funding up front, right, could have accelerated your growth. Could that have been a good thing that would have maybe changed the company in a positive way to where you are right now? And maybe I might have a follow-up question to that.
Okay, no, it's a great question. So when I started was February of 2000. The PCI standard came out 2006, and I think it was January. So I really didn't get the hockey stick growth. I couldn't really get that hockey stick growth because that when everyone had to do it. It was from the card brands. You have to do it. That's when the hockey stick growth really was going to happen. So I could have spent a lot more money. I could have got a lot more people. I think we would have potentially failed because somebody would have told me, "Hey, it's our money, and you're not seeing the rewards." But because I had a low budget, and I could pay the bills for all the people, and we could get by, I think maybe it actually allowed us to survive. So it's good and bad. I had a friend that at the same time was starting another company that's been very successful, and I remember going to his office, and they had this space with nobody in it. He had a brand new computer, and my laptop had no letters left on it. Right, I'd had it so long I couldn't afford to buy another laptop, and I thought, man, am I doing this the wrong way? Am I doing this the right way? And then about 3 years later, the private equity group that was funding them decided that he couldn't do the function that he was hired to do, and so they terminated him from his own company he was a founder of. And it just bugged me, right? It still bugs me when I talk about it. So it's one of those things where you just have to do what makes sense and what options you can find, and then figure out what you feel good about, right? And because I'm not sure there's a right or wrong answer. I'm not sure I could have really accelerated growth. And if I had a big, huge expense, they may have shut me down, right? In 2004 or 5. So I don't know. It's hard.
So kind of like as a person, you going the private route, it really was almost like this personal thing for you. It allowed you to be yourself, maybe. And any advice that you would give to someone who is considering taking on funding, how do you preserve your identity, your mission, your business when bringing on that type of a partner? And I'll leave it with that question.
Well, I think as long as you're aligned, right? As long as you're aligned with your board and your investor group, I think you're fine. So I didn't feel like I lost myself. I feel like the culture is better because people know that they matter more than the bottom line. They really do, And we give Christmas bonuses every Christmas. And some Christmases we lose money. Some years we lose money and we just say, well, it doesn't matter. We're still going to give you a bonus at Christmas. It's Christmas time. Let's party, right? Let's have fun. So we can do those things. If I was in a PE, if I was funded by a private equity group and my numbers weren't good, they'd shut that down, right? So I just think the culture is allowed to be better if you're in control. And I've got money in the bank, so I don't have to worry about $300,000 or whatever the amounts are, right? I'm okay, and I know I can weather that, and I can make those decisions. And the employees who have been around a long time know they're first, know that they really are first, and they are.
So I have a question about early on with your business. You talked about how you saw a need, and then you dove into like the technical developing like a solution. How do you think, looking at that and giving advice, you should spend your time towards like validating your business idea as being something worth pursuing, but then also working on like a product that's viable? Like, how do you decide what to spend your time doing?
Yeah, it is really hard because you get so excited. I had a guy pitch me at a show in Toronto a couple months ago. He was so excited about a security idea, but he hadn't really gone through the sales model at all. And so I tried to kind of walk through that with him, and he just frustrated him, right? He didn't really, but you really have to do that on your business model. You have to think about what the model looks like, how it's going to work. Is my product really going to sell, and are other people going to be aligned with it? And if they are, then it sells. A lemonade stand works because it's a hot day, and you got a glass of lemonade that's really cold, and you'll pay the $1 or whatever it is, right, to get it. But sometimes business ideas, you've just got to vet it with a lot of people and make sure that it looks reasonable, and then talk to the people who are going to buy it and say, how much would you really pay? And then try to actually have them pay, and see what happens. And if that starts to happen, they get excited about it, then that's where it gets exciting, and you've got a business idea that's going to work.
Wonderful. For our last question that we ask all of our founders, what is something fun that your success has allowed you to do?
Traveling with Becky and my family. I've taken my kids all over, and that's been fun. Becky, we went to Italy a week or two ago, and that was fun. So that's really been the thing, is to kind of take my kids around and travel with them. And then I like to ski, so I'm going to go hella skiing in January. I got my trip booked. I'm excited for that. So it really also allows you to help people, right? I mean, right now people can say, I need help with a resume, and I can help them. I have time to do that. And so that's also fun for me, is to think, I can actually make a difference to this guy. He's having a hard time finding a job. I look at his resume and I go, well, it makes sense. I can understand why he's having a hard time. So, you can fix those problems and help people. So I think that's the thing that has really been fun for me, is going through all this pain and agony yourself. It's fun to help other people, so they don't have to have so much of it.
Well, Brad, it has been absolutely a thrill talking to you and getting to know you well. We have a little present from RevRoad for you.
Thank you very much.
And let's give one last round of applause for Brad Caldwell.
Thank you.